As they approach fledging, the birds look not a great deal unlike their parents, although much scruffier. Like other grassfinches, their diet of seeds means that double-barred finches need water frequently, and they visit pools every hour or so to drink and bathe. Especially at such close quarters, the reasons for the bird's popular alternative names, clownfinch or owlfinch, become obvious. When not breeding, double-barred finches live in groups of only a dozen or two, close-knit but not especially large by grassfinch standards. A good deal of time is spent in preening, especially as evening draws in and the birds prepare to go to roost. Double bars have a habit, common among grassfinches but rare in other birds, of building special nests in which to sleep at night. These are entirely separate, both in form and function, from the structures in which the young are reared. Pairs share this roost nest throughout the year, but they are also sometimes joined at night by others of their flock, and up to 6 have been found in a single roost nest. The double bar shares parts of the Australian southeast with one of the rarest of grassfinches, the plum-headed finch, which, as it happens, does not build roost nests. It builds nests only for the purpose of raising young. These are built of grass and usually situated within a metre of the ground, often along a stream bank. They are noticeably smaller than the nests of other grassfinches. In fact, the plumhead builds the smallest and simplest of all grassfinch nests. Both sexes incubate in alternate shifts, each usually lasting a little under an hour. The eggs take about 12 days to hatch. In the plum-headed finch, plumage differences between the sexes are distinct but far from obvious. Males have small black bibs, females have dingy white eyebrows. The youngsters, on the other hand, are more or less plain dull brown when they fledge and do not attain the full adult plumage until the following year. Even after they leave the nest, the fledglings are fed by their parents for several weeks before they finally achieve full independence. The heartland of the plum-headed finch's distribution is the grassy valleys along the western slopes of the Great Dividing Range, from about Canberra northwards nearly to Rockhampton. Grassfinches eat seeds either on the stem or on the ground, but several species do both, depending on season and circumstances. The plum-headed finch, for example, takes much of its food from the stem, but especially in winter, it also spends a good deal of its time feeding on the ground. Nearly as widespread as the zebra finch, the ubiquitous red-browed finch occurs almost anywhere there is shrubbery, throughout the more humid parts of eastern Australia. It shows little fear of humans, and more than any other of the grassfinches, it is as much at home in back gardens and urban parks as in the most remote rainforests. It has a special fondness for lantana thickets. Though it usually feeds on the ground, it also sometimes feeds in casuarinas, a habit almost unique among grassfinches. Like most small birds, red-brows are extremely cautious about bathing and choose only the shallowest and most secluded pools, especially those close to shrubbery. This is mainly so that the birds have some secure perch nearby on which to preen and dry out in safety afterwards. Like many other grassfinches, red-brows frequently preen each other, a habit so unusual among birds that it's distinguished by zoologists under the term allopreening. Grasses are extremely rare in rainforest, which makes this a very difficult habitat for grassfinches. Yet even here, there are grassfinches, albeit a scarce and very specialized group. Members of this group, Erythrura, are the so-called parrotfinches, most of which inhabit New Guinea, the Philippines, and the islands of the southwestern Pacific. Only one species, the blue-faced parrotfinch, reaches Australia, and that only as a scarce resident in just a few localities in far northeastern Queensland. The sexes are alike, but males are usually much brighter in colour than females. In the field, parrotfinches are characterized mainly by their elusiveness. Extremely difficult to see, they are usually glimpsed slipping unobtrusively through the foliage. Their favoured environment is the margins of rainforest, close to clearings, natural or otherwise, especially where bamboos are common. Otherwise, almost nothing is known of the habits and behaviour of this rare bird in Australia. In fact, these images may well be the only motion picture footage of the bird ever obtained. Paradoxically, dense grasslands are nearly as challenging as rainforests for grassfinches. There may be plenty of food, but that holds true only while the grass seeds stay on the stalks. Once fallen, they are lost in a jungle of impenetrable stems and effectively denied to the birds. But like rainforests, grassland too has its specialist grassfinch group, the manakins of the genus Lonchura, often known to aviculturists as nuns or munias. Manakins are widespread in India, Southeast Asia, Indonesia and the New Guinea region. There are 3 native Australian species. Rarest of these is the yellow-rumped manakin, which is reasonably common only in the delta grasslands of tropical rivers between the Kimberley and Arnhem Land. Strongly sociable like all the manakins, it normally occurs in flocks, very often in company with the chestnut-breasted manakin. Much more boldly patterned than the yellow-rumped manakin, the chestnut-breasted manakin is also much more widely distributed, being common in coastal lowlands almost everywhere in northern and eastern Australia. Manakins don't preen each other, they seldom cuddle, and they don't build roost nests. Though they mate for life, the pair bond is rather less strong than in other grassfinches. The perch looks precarious, and perhaps it is, but this is the manakin's special world, riding a swaying seed head of grass. These birds feed almost entirely on half-ripe seeds harvested while they are still on the stem. They seldom visit the ground. Their reliance on seeds at a particular growth stage enforces a lifestyle that is much more nomadic than is usual in other grassfinches, and the flocks constantly wander in search of grasses coming into seed. Chestnut-breasted manakins have moved into agricultural lands with much more enthusiasm than other grassfinches, and they are now nearly as abundant in crops of various kinds as they are in their native reed beds. In gregarious and highly mobile birds such as manakins, getting left behind is nearly the worst of all possible fates. So when one flies, the others don't wait round to argue or complain. It sometimes happens that a good deal of apparently aimless flying about takes place before a startled or restless flock finally settles again, more by a sort of group inertia than any form of leadership.